The film starts with a note that tells us about the plague sweeping through England and nearby areas in 1665. So many people were losing their lives to this terrible disease. During this terrible time, religious fanatics started pointing fingers at demonic forces for the plague and used it to accuse thousands of innocent women of witchcraft. Many were executed in a brutal manner. Fast forward to today. We meet Grace, a woman whose face shows deep pain. Next to her is her sweet little girl, Abby. When Grace steps outside her home, we get to see what's been breaking her heart. Her husband, Joseph, has ended his life. Feeling completely overwhelmed with grief, she starts digging his grave with her own hands, crying uncontrollably, remembering the past. Not too long ago, Grace, Abby, and Joseph were just enjoying a simple life. Worried about the plague, they decided to rent a house far from the city. Joseph would head into town to sell the farm's crops and would occasionally pop into a bar for a drink. One day at the bar, he runs into their landlord, Boomer. Once Boomer is gone, Joseph has a chilling realization. He was drinking with a guy who had the plague. Joseph rushes home, clearly shaken and horrified. As his condition worsens, he pleads with Grace to go get herbs from the forest. Then, out of nowhere, he hangs himself, trying to stop the disease from reaching his family. Let's return to the present. Boomer shows up at Grace's place with his servant, Edwin, asking for the rent. Grace asks for a bit more time and then heads to the city, keeping Abby close as they stroll along. On her journey, she bumps into an old friend, Kate, and her husband, Ben. Grace hands Abby over to Kate for safekeeping. Grace heads to the bar in the city to chat with the owner about getting a loan. He says no, but then he hits us with a surprise. Boomer had purposely switched Joseph's drink, aware it was tainted. Joseph got framed. It's still a mystery why Boomer did this. That night, Grace can't sleep, feeling scared. Boomer will be back in the morning to pick up the rent. Out of nowhere, Joseph's ghost shows up and tells her to sell his wedding ring. Heartbroken, Grace digs up the grave and gets the ring back. Boomer comes back the next day with Edwin. Grace gives him her ring and Joseph's wedding band, hoping it will help with the rent. But Boomer's got something way more sinister planned. He attempts to attack her. Grace stands her ground. She sears his hand with a blazing iron rod and pushes him out at gunpoint. Boomer stumbles off, promising to get back at them. "This is going to cost you, I promise you." Grace finds herself talking to Joseph's spirit, sharing the trauma she's been carrying from her past. As a kid, she saw her mom get taken by a famous witch hunter called Moorcroft. Her mom was tortured for no reason. When she wouldn't confess, they threatened to kill young Grace. The woman claimed to be a witch to save her daughter. She was set on fire right in front of everyone. So, Boomer's back at the bar getting the townsfolk all riled up. He says Grace is a witch. Her husband passed away from the plague, yet she never fell ill. So, when he went to collect she just went after him. The rowdy crowd, still buzzing from the recent execution of a woman named Molly for witchcraft, now shifts their anger toward Grace. Molly was Grace's friend. The crowd looks to the witch hunters. Grace is at home getting Abby ready for bed when masked intruders suddenly break in. She hurries upstairs to find a place to hide, but they go ahead and set the house on fire. Grace just manages to get away, but then she gets caught by Boomer. They grab Abby and toss Grace in jail. Over there, Kate talks to Ben. "Why would you go and betray Grace? She isn't a witch." Ben slaps her and says, "If I hadn't sided with Boomer, we'd be next." While in jail, Grace meets a teenage orphan, Astrid, who got locked up for stealing food. Astrid tells her, "They'll torture you until you confess. And when you do, they'll take you out. Keep going." The following morning, Grace gets pulled into the town square and tied to a post. She's been whipped on her back, blood seeping through her dress, but not a single tear drops. Her tormentors are taking a break, for now. Later, Boomer tells Edwin that Moorcroft is coming to torture Grace himself. Boomer sneers, saying if she'd just given in back then, none of this would be happening. Grace shoots him a sharp look through the cell bars. "I'd rather die than give in to you." That night, Grace asks Edwin to help her find Abby. Feeling compelled, Edwin quietly slips out to look for the girl. Once he's out of the picture, Boomer comes back, this time with Moorcroft and his assistant, Leonora. Moorcroft leans in closer. Tomorrow, your nightmare starts. Later that night, Grace dreams she's being chased by the devil. She asks God for help, and out of nowhere, her mother shows up in the vision. "Remember who you are," her mother says. "Let's fight." At dawn, a guard splashes water on Grace to wake her up. Moorcroft tells Leonora to check her for any signs of witchcraft. Leonora tears her clothes and looks at her body. She eventually points to an old scar on Grace's neck. Moorcroft gives a satisfied nod, the mark of the devil. We're about to start the torture until she admits she's a witch. Grace is stuck in the same terrible situation. After some time, Edwin arrives and informs her that Boomer has locked Abby in with a nurse. Upon hearing this, Grace insists that Abby needs to be rescued. She can't be in Boomer's hands anymore. She begs Edwin to help her. Just as he's about to say something, guards show up, and he has to go. The following day, Grace finds herself tied to a wooden post, facing torture. Moorcroft shows up with his assistant, Leonora, and starts punishing Grace in a burst of anger. Even though the pain is unbearable, Grace stays quiet and pushes through it. That night, she gets tossed back into her cell. Leonora tells Moorcroft she doesn't think Grace is a witch. Moorcroft replies coolly, "If she really isn't, then God will save her, just like he saved you." Moorcroft once accused Leonora of being a witch and even tried to burn her, but she survived when it unexpectedly started to rain. Later, Leonora swings by to see Grace and says, "Just admit you're a witch. If that's the case, then God will save you." Moorcroft has really gotten into her head. Grace is really pushing Leonora to get out of that place. The following day, Grace finds herself tied to the wooden post again. Moorcroft offers her one final opportunity to come clean. But Grace, standing firm, insists she isn't weak like her mom. She won't tell a lie just to get by. Moorcroft then shows a scary device. Just press a button and the sharp blades come out. He puts it into Grace's private parts, and she screams in pain but still won't back down. Everyone is just shocked. No regular person could handle that kind of brutal torture. Moorcroft calls her a witch, claiming no human could have made it through that. He then says that both Grace and Abby will be burned alive the next day. Grace pleads with him to at least let Abby go, but Moorcroft remains icy and unyielding. So Kate, who's with Ben, is determined to reveal to the villagers that Grace isn't a witch, even if it costs her life. Ben, furious, tosses her off the horse and begins to hit her. But Kate stands her ground. She pushes back, takes Ben down, and throws a rock at the horse. The scared horse takes off, and Ben's head hits a rock, killing him right away. That night, Edwin sneaks some food to Grace, and she talks him into helping her escape. Edwin heads over to Moorcroft and lets him know that Grace wants to chat with him. Moorcroft, feeling curious, tells them to clean her up and bring her to him. Grace sees Abby again, and her face just lights up when she spots her. Edwin shows up with a bottle of wine, but it's secretly poisoned. Moorcroft sends everyone off and begins drinking with Grace, trying to get her to confess. Grace is aware the wine is poisoned, yet she goes ahead and drinks it. She knows she's going to die tomorrow, but she's set on taking Moorcroft down with her. In a swift move, she strikes and pins both of Moorcroft's hands to the table, holding him down. So Abby's stuck in Boomer's room right now. A tipsy Boomer walks in and collapses. Edwin sneaks in to save her, but she begins to cry. Before Boomer has a chance to respond, Edwin takes him down with a solid hit. Meanwhile, Leonora goes after Grace. A brutal brawl erupts. Grace throws a punch, hitting her square in the face, and things get so heated that the room goes up in flames. Moorcroft, stuck in the chair, watches helplessly as the chaos unfolds around him. Edwin shows up and helps Grace get away. Before she heads out, she places a gun in front of Moorcroft. Outside, Edwin helps Abby to safety, while Grace shuts herself in a room, sure that she's been poisoned. So, Edwin spills the beans. The poisoned wine wasn't meant for her. The Boomer drank it. When Grace figures this out, she tries to escape, but a guard stops her. She tells Edwin to run and save himself. So, just when Grace is about to free the other prisoners, Boomer pops up and goes after her. A brutal fight erupts, and Grace ends up slitting Boomer's throat, making him pay for all he's done. In the last scenes, Moorcroft is shown pulling the blades from his hands. He picks up the gun Grace left and attempts to shoot himself to get away from the flames. But when he pulls the trigger, it just clicks. The gun's empty. Now he has to face the fire. Grace, thinking about Joseph's spirit, strolls over to a well and then leaps in. Morning's here. Edwin gets Abby to Kate without any issues. So we see Grace, sword in hand, coming up from a river, and that's how the film wraps up.